Sweet.
Okay.
So we're here to talk about my client, Chuck Wagon, and your property, Amy.
Yes, Amy is a property owner, and looking to hopefully come to a agreement here.
Yeah. Okay. So my client is definitely interested in your Beechwood property. He's looking at a couple of other options, but right now with the aspect of like the nice park, my client is thinking that it would be a really nice area for him to settle as a permanent like residence for his work.
Okay.
Yeah.
And remind me again, your client's business is a catering firm, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Awesome.
Yes. He's done a couple of really great parties for my company and our clientele.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And yeah, kind of how long has your client been working in the area? Is he new to the area? Is he kind of moving to this town for the first time?
He isn't quite so new, but he just hasn't acquired like a permanent stay. He has a couple of odd leases, I would say. They're not permanent, so he's looking to settle down around this area. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And my understanding is you're looking at my client's lot 234. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah, 230. Yeah, 234, I believe, is the right. Yeah, that's true. I forgot about that. I thought it was 232 or 234.
Oh, so yes, I believe Amy had mentioned that as well. She mentioned that there may have been two lots that your client was looking at.
Yeah, but either is probably good.
Awesome.
I know that the other potential property that my client is looking at is it has sort of like a similar lot, but we're more interested in like the aspects of, you know, as I said, like the park and like it kind of gives a similar vibe to what we're looking for, but I think my client really likes the area more than anything.
Okay.
Is the area.
Awesome. And so would your client be looking to acquire both of those lots, or more just looking for one of the lots, whichever one fits your client's needs better, or was looking at both lots kind of the key desire as well?
Either of the lots, yeah. I don't think my client has the funds for both of them, but I know that he's interested in doing renovations, and I know that would cost like an additional amount. He's definitely willing to pay and go the extra mile to satisfy both your client and mine.
What kind of renovations is your client looking for?
He is looking for like kitchen and equipment renovations. So that would also be an additional, you know, aspect to the overall sum of the lot in general. Which I'm glad I pointed that out because you might not have known otherwise.
Are there any additional renovations that would need to be done other than kind of just kitchen equipment updates?
My client is definitely interested in, as I said, paying like extra for the renovations, and specifically if your client wanted to take care of any specific like utilities, he'll be able to pay. He will gladly pay an extra sum of $3,000, and $5,000 as well for like park amenities as well. So I know that would add into the total But what was your what are your hopes here for your clients?
Yeah,
property?
so I guess from my client's end, as you may know, neither of these lots are really on the market at the moment, but we
Yes.
always like to
Help out.
kind of see where don't like to turn down an opportunity before we kind of see all the sides of it.
Yeah, of course.
Want to kind of get all the information at hand before we kind of just say
Say
for
or
sure
say
that
no.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Kind of wanted to get all the information.
I 100% respect
and
that.
obviously, my client's a resident of this area as well, so obviously looking to kind of maintain the overall integrity and ambiance of the area.
Oh, yeah.
So kind of any buyer that potentially wanted to buy any of her properties, wanting to make sure she vetted them as well, making sure they're looking to do right by the community.
Yeah, absolutely. My
Which
client
seems to be the
definitely
case.
wants to do right by your client and like the area as a whole. He doesn't want to like create any waves.
Mhm.
You know, he wants to do right.
I guess I did have one quick question about your client's business.
Mm-hmm.
What's kind of the level of public marketing that your client's company requires from like a storefront standpoint?
Public marketing,
Like as in
for-
kind of huge billboards and whatnot in the area.
Oh.
Is that something that your client's kind of expecting to do?
No,
or?
I wouldn't say a huge billboard. My client is hoping to have like a sign put up in front, but like, you know, nothing like flashy, and he's willing to like pay that extra as well. But like, you know, a sign to indicate, you know, this is my restaurant, you know, we're welcoming, please come in. Nothing like billboard crazy. I feel like my client is definitely like he specializes to he's very intricate and he wants to put a lot of effort towards like things that matter to him, if
Awesome.
that makes sense. Yeah,
that's great to hear.
Yeah.
Are there any kind of additional kind of selling points or factors that might be of importance to your client that might be able to help me brainstorm a little bit how we might be able to help each other out here?
Well, so my client, he is extremely interested in this property. The one thing that I will note is the other additional property that I was mentioning earlier. It's called the Whitestone property. It closes tomorrow, but my client is especially interested in your client's property.
Okay.
So we would be taking a risk in, you know, foregoing the Whitestone in order to pursue, you know, your client's property. Very nice property, that is.
So let me make sure I'm understanding that comment correctly. So basically your client's just looking for a quick undertaking of this negotiation, making sure this kind of was closed quickly, whether or not we go through or not.
Oh no, not close quickly. Just like, you know, that my client and your client, you know, they have an understanding. If and when your client is okay with moving forward, but we just want you and Amy to know that we are especially interested in your property and are willing to forego the other property in order to pursue the interest.
But you kind of need to know from our end pretty soon.
Yeah.
By tomorrow, if this is
if it's okay.
Yeah, if this is gonna happen.
Yes, that is.
Got it.
That is the
Okay,
idea.
sounds good.
Okay, cool.
That is totally doable.
Okay, that's good. I'm glad to hear that. Let's see. Anything else? Well, do you have any stances, or your client has any stances?
Yeah, I guess. I think that covers all of my questions right off the bat.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, kind of going back to my comment earlier, as you know, this property wasn't originally for sale.
Right.
And so, kind of after speaking to my client, Amy, I will say that kind of her initial looking price for this property is around $160,000.
Okay.
Kind of at the point that just wasn't really on the market. So at this point, kind of she's using that as her starting value for any sort of negotiations on this property.
Great. That sounds perfectly doable. In fact, with so 160,000 is her base rate. Does she have any other like deposits that like certain deposits that she's willing to negotiate around that, or is she strict and stern about initial deposits?
Yeah, she's definitely willing to kind of work on different situations, whether there'd be some sort of kind of doing utilities or kitchen updates on her end before kind of the sale went through, so that wasn't work that you did. And kind of finding a reasonable rate to cover that at and whatnot. Due to just some local contacts she may have, she might be able to get some work a little cheaper than you might be able to.
That's great. That would be great. Yeah, I would love to work with you and Amy on that. That sounds great. And your client is okay with like renovations, as I said. She's
Yes.
okay with that.
She'd be okay with negotiating on some negotiations that she would do on her end.
Great.
And then that would be covered by your client, but she might be able to get a cheaper rate than your client maybe. And so we can kind of work through that. And then one other key point is Amy's really picky about signs in her neighborhood for whatever reason. I brought this up earlier.
I missed that. I'm sorry.
And so it's not that she's fully opposed to signs, but she'd like some commitments on one side or the other to kind of ease her worries related to publicly displaying signs.
Of course,
So,
me and my client, we wouldn't want to, disrupt, what your client has in view.
Yeah.
In
So
her image.
first off, initially her first ideal scenario would be a 1 to 2 year commitment where your client's business doesn't display a sign at all.
Okay.
And she'd actually be willing to pay you guys for that commitment.
Would she be willing to renegotiate afterwards?
Yeah, kind of.
Okay.
Yeah. She'd also be more towards the compromising side. She'd be interested in like a size commitment, potentially saying
A sign size?
like the size of the sign. Potentially.
Okay.
Couldn't be over 3 feet by 2 feet, or 3 meters by 2 meters. 3 feet by 2 feet.
3 by 2 feet.
Yes. And
Okay.
or kind of with no agreement on any sort of. Okay, so let me rephrase this one, because this one there is a little bit of specificity from Amy.
Okay.
So for a 1 to 2 year commitment where your client's business does not put up a sign while owning this property, she'd be willing to either drop the price or kind of directly pay you after the fact in the realm of $3,000 to make you whole, whether that's off the sale price or kind of just a separate cash deposit to you guys. On the size commitment, if an agreement where your client still does want to sign, but we were able to agree on not going over that 3 by 2 feet, she'd be willing to pay $1,000. And if we're not able to reach an agreement and your client just wants the right to have a sign, she wants to charge your client $5,000 for that right.
That's totally okay. $5,000 works.
Cool.
Yeah, $5,000 like as in like
So,
how big it is, or
no,
like as
so-
a flat rate.
So, say hypothetical scenario, we
Mhm.
agreed to that sale price of $160,000.
Okay.
If we were not able to, if your client wanted to maintain that right to have a sign, Amy would change that price to $165,000.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds good. My client is definitely looking to expand his business. Like his catering business, he established himself. Like he doesn't have a lot of employees that he like is steady with.
Mhm.
It depends on like external like conditions that are
Mhm.
happening like
Yeah.
for his employees. But he's looking, to make a reputation and kind of like sustain his business. So I think a sign is very doable, and my client would be willing to pay that
Okay.
$5,000.
Awesome.
If your client is
Yeah.
okay with that.
So we'll just treat it as that. So
Okay.
kind of, if that's okay with you.
Yeah.
Obviously, we can come back to this, but as of now, we'll treat it as your client's just willing to pay that $5,000 fee if we were to come to an agreement.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Awesome. So I guess for now that covers that point. And then I guess would we want to start talking about what renovations might look like before we start touching the actual property values?
Do you think like a base rate at first, like feeling it out, sort of?
What do you mean?
Well, my client, I think, is looking to. Let me just fact check this. So if your client is able to help us with negotiation terms, I think we're looking at like an equipment cost that is installed and guaranteed, like with kitchens, and does great work, maybe at the price that your client can negotiate down from, like around $30,000, and another I'd say $14,000 for renovations. So I don't know what that total. So $44,000 for rates.
Yeah.
So is what we're thinking.
Yeah. So
on top of the 160.
44,000 on top of property costs.
Yeah, and the 5,000. So actually 165 plus 44. Renovations and equipment. Or we can round that up to 45, honestly. Equipment.
And to confirm, this is for both kitchen upgrades and kind of the utilities, electrical upgrades kind of thing?
Yeah,
okay.
That's what we're thinking.
Awesome. You said 44.
So I think that comes out to 204. Right. I've always wanted to say this, if I'm not mistaken.
So I do not believe that Amy would be able to get you that for 44.
Okay.
She would be able to get it for 46.
Okay. I think we can meet at 46.
However, one of Amy's concerns about doing kind of ahead of the time renovations,
Mm-hmm.
your client would be able to agree and sign off on everything, but your client wouldn't be able to be on site until he took over the property. Amy's worried about...
So there would be like a grace period almost?
So Amy's just worried about if she's taking on the liability to cover these renovations, and then your client were to come on site and get injured in any way, shape, or form, that puts her at liability for his injuries.
Okay.
So she just would need to ensure that while she's still the owner of the property and these renovations are going on,
right, she would have
no sort of liability.
No liability if my client gets hurt.
So we could allow him on site if he were to sign a release of liability.
Like a waiver?
Yeah.
Okay. Would he be able to like supervise almost? Like if he wanted to oversee these renovations, like maybe like he might be very particular, well he is very particular actually of the certain equipment that he's using. He would want to see it the renovations like go step by step, obviously not during like in commotion of the renovations that are happening currently, but definitely willing to sign a waiver for your client, Amy.
Okay. So I think that is a totally fair ask, and I think the one thing I would add to that is if we were to sign a contract with the contractors today, kind of thing, we have this quoted out, and if any of these kind of step-by-step supervisions were to maybe add an additional week of labor towards the renovations, would that be covered by your client then, if kind of we've quoted this out and then all of a sudden we're completely changing all the tools,
the progress,
all the progress kind of thing?
Well, as long as there's maybe before the renovations happen, the team that is doing the renovations and the equipment can like sit down and sort of draw out what would happen, and then my client would be totally amenable.
We have like a sign-off day that the whole plan's kind of gone over with everyone, and everyone signs off on anything.
I think that's very fair.
I think that's awesome. Then I think my client would be totally okay with that.
Great. Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Yeah, just so that it cuts the cost of either one of us, because either one of our clients.
Yeah. And so, awesome. So if we were to agree on that, we'd have kind of before any renos take off, like a sign-off day that everyone's kind of in agreement with.
Oh yeah, I like that sign-off day. Let's do that. Sign-off day, great.
So
we have So just to recuperate, we have 160 for base rate, and then 46 for renovations
46
and
for
equipment.
reno.
Okay, so that would give us 206 thousand as a grand total,
And then that sign fee as well.
and that sign fee, or for the liability waiver. Oh, the sign.
The
sign.
sign
Sorry.
for like the
Oh yes, that's included. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh wait, you are right. Wait.
So that'd be 165 plus the 46 if we went all.
55 plus 211. You're right. That sounds good.
Awesome. And then I guess, at least from our end, I guess the last thing to do to kind of close this deal, I think these are terms that Amy would be very appreciative of. She would need at least some sort of down payment to go back with her
Yes.
today.
Of course, absolutely.
Ideally somewhere around 10,000, but we can work those numbers a little bit as you see fit.
10,000 sounds great.
Awesome.
Yeah, we can definitely do 10,000.
So that $10,000 deposit. $5K sign fee, 46K reno fee, and then 160K base rate. That grand total is so yeah. 211K with a 10K down.
Yeah,
Those terms sound good?
they seem great.
Awesome. Well, it was a pleasure negotiating with you.
Very,
I think we have found
very
a deal.
good pleasure.